Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It is a beautiful August 12th, and we are counting down the days to Unbound in Washington, D.C. Michael and I are here to talk about some fun things in Bluebeam today, but as always, how's it going today, Michael?
Good. Excited to see you in the office today. We weren't able to coordinate getting, because I don't even know if we can get into the office that early, to be honest, because I think, it's like 7 or something like that you can get into the office. But excited to see you in person today in the good old Arizona office. It is hot. Jason, we usually don't talk too much about weather anymore, but he is experiencing what it's like to live in Phoenix again. It is 108, and I bet you when he got here, it was around probably 5 p.m. and
it was 112.
Yeah, 4 p.m. is the hottest part of the day, but it doesn't cool down here. So even all the way till the a.m., it is right now it's 84 degrees. So like it's still hot. It'll be 90 right at probably 8 a.m.
So yeah, it'll be great. It was wild. This hotel has outdoor sort of to get to anywhere. You got to go outdoors, and I got home from dinner at probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock, and it was still 101, and I was like, this is ridiculous, but that's all right. It's a different change from back home. Reminds me why I don't live here anymore, but still, it'd be good to go to the office today. Michael and I usually try to do something fun when we're together, but just be it, since it's 6:30 in the morning right now, a little difficult to do what we want, so I'll see you later. Probably the first time in a while that it's been like 2 weeks since we've seen each other, so this will be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. And then next week I won't be here because I'll be traveling to the good old Forum. Yeah, it's like the channel Forum essentially. So hopefully there'll be more updates that I can give to you all. I'm going to ask some questions too, especially for what we're going to talk about today, since a lot of people, which ironically enough, I didn't think this would be such a hot ticket item. People are sad the iPad app's going away. As underrated as that app is, meaning the, ratings on the Apple Store, it's like 1 star.
Yeah. It's a 1-star $10 app, and people are sad.
People are very sad. I haven't gotten this many emails on the iPad app going away. I think folks I don't know if they underestimated them at Bluebeam, or they didn't really understand the workflow of what they do, or it will be updated at some point. I don't know. It's one of those like 5 things, because are they going to update it completely and finally get it on par? People use it as an actual PDF viewer versus using it through sessions. So that's another issue. Also, you can't attach photos yet. You can't use the full measurements. It's supposed to be 1-to-1. And we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 months left in the year by the end of the year. And then the app's gone. So it's 4 months to get it 1-to-1, and it's not. So
and that's
people are very worried.
Yeah. We've talked about the iPad app a ton over the years on the show, and it's always been like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then, now literally since they announced the end of life coming up at the end of this December, so this year, 4 months from now, it will go away. It will no longer be available to purchase from the App Store, which means if you are looking at buying a new iPad, or you want to have it,
get it now,
pay your $10 and get it now. But, it's never been the same as the Bluebeam review experience, except if you were a user from like review 16, 15, where you had that old interface and you had that sort of clunkiness. But it's quite interesting, and we're talking about punch list today and how that workflow works, because it is a big part of the iPad workflow and having that mobile field solution. Well, now you're back to Surface Land. The Surface Pro with the new updates in 21.6 that allow the ARM processors, like in the Surface Pro, or even a Mac, which makes me wonder, can the iPad Pro run it? I don't know. But Bluebeam Cloud needs to get caught up.
It needs to do something, because here's the issue, is that people use the app for punch lists the Bluebeam Cloud app does work for comments. So don't get me wrong, right? They did one thing, but one of the main other issues was using it for punch lists and attaching photos to comments or to punch lists, items, which is no longer the case. You can't do that. So I'm wondering, are they saying, I don't know. I'll ask next week, but I'm hoping the answer is that GoCanvas will be that replacement for attaching photos. If that's the case, you're going to have to pay $50 a month per user in addition to your Bluebeam license for the GoCanvas integration.
That's going to be the gotcha.
Yeah.
And we don't, Michael said $50 a month. We don't know yet. We don't officially know how much that integration will cost, but they spent money on that.
If you go to GoCanvas website, the license cost is $50 per user.
Oof. Well, it'll be interesting to see because it is a powerful program, and we're excited to talk about it. I know we've said on MCR before that we're not going to be covering GoCanvas, but that's not entirely true. We're crossing some T's and dotting some I's and getting some conversations done with our friends over at Nemetschek, and we'll be able to talk about GoCanvas soon. But for now, we can just talk about it from what we know through conjecture. But once we get it under the hood and be able to play with it, we're excited to bring that to MCR.
Yeah, it'll be here. But I'm hoping that that's not the integration like key point. Is going to be the solution to solve that. I hope that it is 1-to-1. Like they were talking about at live. At live, they said it was going to be a 1-to-1. Extending the reach and everything will be in there, but we're still not there yet. Hopefully, again, we'll find out, right? But that's this punch list workflow that I'm going to go through and show. Typically, you would do this out in the field, and we've done this on the iPad. We've done this at different places live. We were out in New Orleans together, if you remember. It's a pretty good workflow. Yes, there's some like internet connection issues and stuff. You click the PDFs before you go out to the field, you're completely fine. You get all your tool sets. The issue right now is the limitations in what you can do in cloud, in which we're going to keynote today. So I'll go through and we'll go and share my screen here. I'll open up Revu.
And while you're pulling that up, I'll get caught up on the chat. Matt put that use Revu 100%, iPad 80%, and the cloud 10%. So here we go, August 12th, 2025. We'll see where that changes next year, Matt. And David added, people use Revu in the ways that Bluebeam doesn't realize. Hey, it isn't so. Absolutely. If you're listening to this or you're, playing with Bluebeam every day, you're doing stuff that Bluebeam doesn't realize. And that's the fun part. It's part of the challenge. So we're going to do a little bit more of that right now.
Oh, man. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do this.
Uh-oh. So while Michael is going to Bluebeam Cloud.
Yeah, and the web, by the way, has everything first, gets everything first. So Jason will use it from his phone. But the thing is that it's different from the cloud environment. So when I'm in the cloud environment here, if scale is set, by the way, on your PDF, you can use measurements when it's uploaded into sessions. So it just depends on the PDF. Like this PDF was set to scale, so I can even add another scale here so you can view the scale. But you can use measurements. But when we go over to the tool chests, you're still able to go through and look at some items in here. And I believe punch list still works. So yeah, your punch list items, as long as they're not sequences or measurements, they do work in here. So you can see some that don't, right? Count measurements and your other markup is still not supported. And then also your punch key, like my paint punch key items, still works, right? So that's great. So you can be out in the field and you can place a punch item. But I think one of the most important factors of placing this punch item has always been the ability to add and attach a photo. So as you look here, there is no option. I thought that was Joe demo. That's Jason. Cool. And by the way, for those free users, there is no markups list like there is for, I'm going to call it the cloud markup list. There is no cloud markup list for those free users. So if you had any subs that were being added as a free user, they can't actually see this pane here. So I found that out the other day when I was using Joe Demo. When I clicked this, there was no markup data. But there is if you're... idea. Yeah, I know. There is for paid users, so you can go through here and use the statuses if you needed to as well. That is an option. Again, can't attach a photo. So you're probably like, hey, Michael, why do you need to attach a photo? So the workflow for punch lists that still works on the iPad very well. We'll go back into session, sorry. I hope it will let me log in, and it will probably... Is there no login issue anymore? Yeah, it does. It disconnects you here. Because it needs to know what you're authoring, right? So if I go back into this one, now I can, but this would be another 5-step workflow to come into here and say, hey, attach a capture from file. We'll go to our photos. Okay. I thought I had the photo of Hunter at the Cheesecake Factory in here too, so I didn't want to open that right here. But yeah, so now that I've attached the photo, right, I could have made it on the Cloud app and then attached the photo, but the issue is getting the photo, right? Like, I mean, I film content, so basically going through and moving things from iCloud, you'd have to open iCloud on your device and then download local and then attach it. That's still a 5-step process versus just being out in the field, being convenient like you can on the iPad. Select the markup, and we've done this on a different session, and I'll show you what that looks like. Just be aware that this session iPad was an older iPad, so don't be like, Michael, that quality is pretty terrible. Well, that's just because the camera was pretty bad because it's an old iPad. That was this workflow, right? Like you select the markup, you attach the photo, and you have a live photo of it. That's quicker than having to download, grab, right? So, thoughts?
Pretty wild. Yeah, we've covered a number of ways to do this, and there's a couple things in the chat that we'll talk about. So Doug mentioned that they launched Cloud in 2022. I didn't realize it's been that long already, and it's still not close to where it needs to be. I'm guessing things are going to change here next month at Unbound. And then David also put in a comment that we haven't talked about in a long time. Because, yeah, that was one of the big promises of Bluebeam Cloud, was that there was a geo-reference option. And you can, use a map and position your PDF on where it is, but it's not necessarily geo-referenced, as in, if you took a photo from your device, let's say your iPhone, which has GPS capabilities, it's not going to put your takeoff in that room. Which is kind of what we thought it was going to do.
Yeah, that was Project Rover era.
Right. Yeah. Right. So maybe that got lost in there. And then, can you add an hyperlink in Cloud?
So
I don't remember seeing that one.
I forget if they work or not. I think the other day I did it and it didn't work. So I'll log back into Cloud.
Not from iOS.
Yeah, I know not from the phone, but I think from here it might. It was Studio Projects, MCR, this file, second one in, I believe. No. Yeah, here it is. This one had a RFI, and it should have hyperlinked you to that other document. So this one has a hyperlink. I'll scroll in and show you. This one has one. See how it gives me the index? Nope. No hyperlinks. Because this would be the other thing, like a dashboard out in the field, right? Can't use it because there's no hyperlinks. I'm not trying to... Sorry.
The pointer wanted to do something, but it just couldn't open it up?
Yeah, it couldn't open. It didn't jump you to the PDF. And we're not trying to throw shade at the Cloud app because it is an extension and it's a great viewer and note taker, I guess you would say, right? But that's it. That's all it's used for. It's not used for the other things that people were using out in the field, which would be the ability to go through. Like if you're comparing it to something like the other portions of Procore, let's use for instance, right, which would be like RFI submittals, or even comparing it to your construction cloud platform, right? Same thing for build. Or what its predecessor used to be, which was Bluebeam Cloud, which was Project Rover, which was RFIs, submittals, and punch lists. If you're taking away the Bluebeam iPad app, it's not a one-for-one transfer. You can't say, hey, don't worry, the iPad app is going away, and everything you could do in the iPad app is going to be able to be done in the Cloud app. That's not the case, you know? So anyways.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah, because this has been out for 3 years now, and
has it been 3 years as Cloud though?
That's what Doug said, and Doug's right about everything. So, it's become one of those things where
it has been.
We're losing features. Oh, that's even longer. Oh, so Doug said 2022. Now we're talking 2021. So almost 4 years to the day, a month away. That's crazy.
Well,
yeah,
this
there's
I
no
think
more RFIs. There's
yeah, I think this was when it was the old one. It changed in this era. I think 2024 is when it became a new platform. Yeah, it was like 2023. So what is that? 2 years ago? Was it 2022? Yeah, because this is when it was still the old app.
September 20th, 2022 is what the Google machine says.
Okay. But
there it is right there. So that's when Rover died. Yeah, I remember too, Doug. There was classes at XCon 2022 about cloud.
Oh, there was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when Rover went away, which was cloud. They called it Rover, and then they labeled it cloud, and then now it's what it is now. But yeah, there hasn't been an update. So I guess fingers crossed. The issue is that they haven't come out. They have stated at live that'll be 1-for-1, right? And we've thought it that way. I guess when you announce the archive of a solution that people, I didn't honestly, I get emailed once a month asking about what's happening, like what is the replacement, and I can't confidently tell folks that it's this because there's a roadmap, right? And we'll go back and open this roadmap. Hold on, how do I? There we go.
Full screen that.
We shared this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the roadmap, I guess you would say, but there's no confident this is what it will be, because like here's this, which we talked about. Mobile additional markups review iPad end of life was announced, so it'll be gone. Mm-hmm. Tool sync and review. Okay, so the tool sync will be there. Does that mean that's when finally?
Mm-hmm. You log into Bluebeam review anywhere. Yeah.
But is this cloud related or no? Is the geo reference going to be linked to this? Because then you were like, hey, Michael, we're still dotting our I's and all that good stuff, but like, let's go and check out Go Canvas, right? So hold on. We don't know what the price will be through us, but let's go there. Let's just, let's go look. I will show you. I think
it would be foolish to tie that only to Go Canvas, because Go Canvas is very, very powerful, and there's some things in there that are just overkill for so many people, and they wouldn't get it
user minimum
just for that.
See, no, it is per user.
Interesting.
Per month. Wait, is it 49 in the year?
Starting.
Is it 49 per month? How do you read that?
That's so. Let me get out my calculator here because it is still early for me.
Jason's experiencing the Michael effect.
Right. So you've got
imagine doing it without coffee. Remember, I'm still no coffee.
So a minimum of $1,764 per year, because that's 3 people per user per month. So let's say an extra $1,800 on top of your review. So there's another $440. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I don't know. Questions. Again, we're not trying to throw shade. We're just we're having these conversations daily. And we don't know the answers to them. So again, hopefully I'll ask some questions when I'm there next week, and hopefully I can inform you guys when we get back. But yeah, I didn't realize how much folks depend on the iPad app, as we're not realizing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the iPad's been the go-to field solution for years and years, right? They're cheap-ish.
I know. I'm so surprised though, because everyone used to complain about it. That's the thing, Jason. Yep. Everyone would be like, Michael, that app is terrible. Don't use it. But then now everyone's like, hey, it's going away. What are we going to do? So I don't know. Yeah. I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised at how many people used it for punch lists and attaching photos. Comments, yes, all day. Because they basically found out what you could do in the iPad app. And they figured out a workflow, right? The issue is that when they figured out the workflow, the workflow isn't one-to-one in this solution. Does that make sense? Like it's not, you can't do everything you needed to do in here that you can do on the iPad app. Because the iPad app is essentially almost. Actually, you know what? I even like the little voice thing. You could do a voice recording in it. So that's cool.
That was super cool because if you're walking around in the field, you don't want to type a bunch of stuff. You just do a voice note, which was, I think, very handy. And I think Cloud, that would be easy enough to do. But I'm not a programmer. Who do I know? But
what do I know? But the Go Canvas app, I'll tell you, it is really good. Jason and I have seen it. The Go Canvas app is an extremely well planned out solution because you can create a form that does geolocate, that does allow you to attach photos. So there is that. Let me just say that from that perspective. And the integration will be amazing. But again, you were paying, what was that? Like you're paying for Bluebeam, which is what, 400, right?
Mm-hmm.
Max, I think.
440.
Plus, okay. Sorry. Max.
10%
we'll
per
go
year,
max.
remember?
Plus now $1,700. So now your solution becomes pretty much really close to an Autodesk product.
Mm-hmm.
That's per user. And if you have at least, I don't know, we'll just say 10 people out in the field. Oops, plus 10, sorry, times 10. You're looking at that.
And Isaac just put a very good comment. Laptop prices are going up too. Not sure about iPad prices. So like this, you're only talking software, and you're not even talking design software. You're not talking about the hardware that you need to run it. It's getting really, really expensive to do lots of things.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of this is that you would have what people already pay for. But then there's another conversation. We've always had this conversation of, are you forcing someone to use their personal device work? That's another conversation. So I don't know. If it's not a work device, how do people feel about that? Because phones aren't cheap either. The new iPhones are around, $1,200-$1,400, which is almost a price. It is the price of an iPad Pro. I think the iPad Pro, like 2 terabytes, is around 2,000, somewhere around there. Yeah, I've looked at it. Yeah, I looked at it because I was going to do some video editing when we go to Japan, and I was like, well, maybe I'll get the iPad Pro. But at that point, you might as well just get the MacBook. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally, yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Yeah, the cost of things is going for hardware and, chips and all that is going up. They're doing a very, we have a product line here and we don't do what a lot of manufacturers are doing, which is pretty shady. People are using the Intel chips now, the Ultra chips, which I'm finding this out because I'm in the market for getting a new desktop at my house. Is they're using the the Ultra chips. So just so you're all aware, and I wasn't aware of this, had to do some chat GPT. The Intel Ultra chips are meant for laptops, but companies are selling them in desktops as like an AI best chip ever, and it's actually has less processing speed than a like an i9 or an i7. People are getting confused because it says Ultra 9, and they're looking at the 9, not realizing it's not an i9. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're going on a squirrel because this is something that really bugs me.
Yeah, and that's sort of what we talked about earlier with Bluebeam moving to supporting ARM processors. So like the processor game is not as clear cut as it used to be.
Yeah. So here's this new AI PC revolution is here. Cool. But it's meant for laptops. Hold on. I can't see what this team's thing.
So you're searching user benchmark test between an i9 and the Ultra?
Yeah, see, so like what
Crazy.
yeah, so the Ultra is meant for your laptops and the i9 is meant for a desktop. But people are selling it as a desktop based. It's saying it's much faster here, but I'm wondering, so is ChatGPT wrong? And maybe I'm wrong. I'm fine with admitting that. Let's go back.
That's the old i9. Try the 14 is what Isaac says.
Well, I mean, the K series is pretty good for editing content. So what does he mean? I don't think there is an i14. Oh, he's saying the 14 series, which is the i9 14K. Yeah. So what is it? It's like i9 14 something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't fully know what all that is. See, I went to Mac at home and I don't have to care about this stuff anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is better. But people are buying this one. It is cheaper. Oops. I'm hitting G5. That wasn't supposed to be it. Yeah, companies are essentially, we don't do this here at ATG, but other PC builders are doing this and not realizing that, and folks aren't realizing that this one's more superior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just some thoughts out there as we're going into like laptops versus desktops. We use laptops here and we supply i9s in our laptops. So just being aware, versus an Ultra. The funny thing is that people are looking at it and they're looking at this part of it, which everyone is. It's such a buzz. They'll say the Ultra AI, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, there's no definition of it. So, yeah, I went down a huge wormhole. So if you couldn't tell,
you just gotta throw that word around, and it means you're up to date on everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
AI is part of it. So, but okay, so going back, punch lists. One of the main reasons why people liked the iPad app was the ability to attach the photos. But how do we do punch lists in this era? You can still use your tool chest on the mobile app. That's great. So you can use your punch list items. So you can come back into here. You can go through and use your punch items, right? So if you have any punch lists that have been created, I'll scroll all the way down because here's where some are. This still works great. So you can at least be out in the field, have pre-curated punch list items, and use this in the field. Yes, great. That is 100% accurate. That does add value. So at least we're at that point. The only missing component, I think, is the attaching a photo. And the reason why is when you're going through and placing a punch list item, one of the best things about Bluebeam is the ability to notate information on PDFs and print out that information as a report, right? So if you were going through and doing a punch list item, the best part about the punch list item is the ability to make that report. And why is there nothing in the punch key flooring? So let's go and look at my tool sets here. There we are. So I go through and make some punch list items. I can make as many punch lists as I want. One of the great things about the app was the ability to select the markup. So we're talking about the iPad app and do the same thing that I'm doing here, which is going through. I need to get better photos on this computer. I used to have some actually good photos. So now we're just looking at photos of things that I have. So, sorry. I built a presentation and this is me introducing the stuff that I like to do as a hobby. So as you go through and look at here, that was one of the better parts because we were able to go through and do is print out this report, and it solves that issue that people have out in the field, which was they would take a photo with their phone, right? They would write it down, then they would go home or to their office or to like home being like a hotel near the site, or their office, and then combined everything into like an Excel format or a Word format, download the photos. There's a lot of work back and forth involved. This solved that because you can just come into here and print out the report and you're done, right? So as you're going through, you have the report of all the information that you needed with the punch list items, with the notation of the punch list items, with the photos that you had. And then you can also hyperlink so that people can jump and figure out where those are. Then you can send that report off for a punch list, right? That's a huge time saver. I think that's where people are getting hung up, specifically on this punch list workflow. Questions?
Right. That was the part that I thought was most impressive, right? Because you could have all your punch list potential issues pre-populated in your tool set with your comments in there. And then when you go to add the photos, it gives you that report and it makes it really easy. Combine that with the power of spaces, and you could have your team go, have their to-do list really, really quick and very, very detailed.
Yep. Yes, there's a fish tank in the men's restroom. Yeah. I think every place should have a fish tank.
Fish tank?
Yeah.
I mean, the sound of the flowing water would probably be helpful. Yeah. There you
go. For my tanks, you don't actually hear water because it's when I used to work from home. I'm very sound sensitive. I know some folks may be like me, and blowing water is annoying to hear continuously. So all of my water that flows out of the outtake goes in the tank, so you can't actually hear it.
Interesting.
Which some people do it the opposite way, so it gets aeration. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds. We'll move on because I'll go down a huge squirrel there. Yes. So there was a comment from Isaac. Yeah, AI optimized. Correct. Yeah. Basically, what they're saying with the new Intel chips that came out, which is the Ultras, have the ability to host an agent on it, meaning that it has enough processing speed to host something local. So think of the ability to create your own chat GPT, meaning referencing your own files sourced by your own information, local on the user. So people can create a private cloud environment for your own AI agent, I guess you would say, basically your own hub that hosts your data, that searches your data, ChatGPT searches the entire web, right? Things that are out there in the web-based internet. It grabs and compiles all that data, and then when you ask it questions, it interprets it from that data, right? And I believe it doesn't do, what was it, futuristic, or it has limitations. Obviously, it's not going to allow you to get all things. There's some safeguards there, not as much as some people want, but anyways, this allows you to host your own form of, like, as reference ChatGPT, right? From your own source data. Okay. But going back to punch lists, there was something about spaces. Yeah, spaces are definitely an underutilized workflow as well with punch lists, because this is also great for quantities, by the way. I talked with a client the other day that was doing quantity takeoffs and asking to itemize by space. Well, itemize by area, not realizing that Bluebeam had some spaces in it. Space is another great thing as well, because you can go through and create a space for an area.
So as you're doing this, so Doug mentioned that creating space is the most time-consuming parts of my workflow. Isaac agrees. You don't have to be super accurate with these. Now, obviously accuracy matters, but you can see how Michael just threw a rectangle around it and it didn't click on every little corner piece in there. Is that a detrimental workflow, would you think, or would a general rectangle be close enough?
Depends.
Right.
So it depends on what you're doing with it. So, like, from a space perspective, let's say if you're someone like Doug, and Doug's probably going to do trim work and some casework here. I'm missing the sinks.
Yep.
Terrible. He's going to be upset about that. Whoever's, making the bid is going to be upset about that because you're not covering the information in there. But if you're doing something like what I just did, which is creating, an area for punch lists, and I know this when I'm in the field as well, that I just created an area to dump my punch items in so that it collects them in one single space. That's what you need to know, right? Like for me, I can easily just draw rectangles because I'm just going to use it as a punch list. I just need to gather data in the local area. That's great, right? Because the other issue right here is I didn't grab that entry corridor right here, right? So you would have to come back and essentially edit it. You'd have to come and add a couple of control points like I'm about to do. Why didn't it let me control point? Another one. There it is. You would do something like this, right? So that it's not adding an area into that restroom either. So you would have to do something like this that encompasses it. So you'd probably want that. But that was more clicks than what you would want to do. The added benefit is from if more people understood the downstream effect of PDFs, another great thing would be to just provide in the PDF package one set that has your rooms, because most people are in Revit nowadays that export things as spaces. That would just help the downstream effect of, sub manufacturers or fabricators to quickly do their job too, because they're not given typically a Revit file to go through and create spaces, which I don't know if that would equal out, because like what Revit's probably, I'm just going to use a round number, $3,000. If sub manufacturers or fabricators were able to get a Revit file, they would have to pay $3,000 to get a Revit license to open Revit only to then print those rooms as spaces.
Yep. Yeah. That seems kind of ridiculous.
But is the value there, right? Like, let's just say this. Am I making spaces for 10 PDFs? The amount of time it probably takes somebody an hour, I would say, to make that. And if you're doing that on, let's say you have 4 jobs a month, so that's 4 hours times, we'll do 10, give you 2 months of break. That's 40 projects that you're working on, right? So whatever that hourly rate you're charging at, I'll just use, we'll use what I typically hear from industry, what people charge out to a client, right? So if I was charging 40 hours times 155, I mean, that's $6,200. So the dollar amount's there. You're at half that cost by just purchasing Revit to then print out spaces, and you're saving the company $3,200. The issue, though, is that people don't look at it this way, right? Because they just see the front face value, which is that $3,000. They're not going to go through and add that monetary value of what you could have been billing out to a client. So the ROI is a great thing. The issue with ROI, in my perspective, is that it's not in your face. Like, it's not coming out of a bank account immediately, right? It's just over time. So you were going to say something.
There's some talk in the chat about dynamic fill. And Doug says we need to educate architects to export spaces with Revit drawings. So I'm going to use my Revit ignorance here. Do you have to create rooms in Revit, or is that an automatic process?
It's a selection process.
Okay.
So let's move over to Revit. Mr. Jason Nartley, not 2022.
Whoa, what is that? So Danny just got an interesting message. Multi-core links. So yeah, there's some shade getting thrown at dynamic fill. It
is
works
that what's happening
well sometimes,
but
what if you're using dynamic fill for spaces? Are you just opening yourself up to frustration?
The shade with dynamic fill, I hear this all the time, is that it doesn't really interpret the lines as good as it needs to.
Whoa, yeah.
So if I change the fill speed, the sensitivity is high, and I change the fill speed and apply it, and I go a little bit slower, it's good, right? But that's the shade, is that you have to come in and make boundaries, and at that point you might as well have just drawn it. But I mean, it's pretty good. Oops. The issue is that I can't hit Control Z. There we go. I guess you can, but you would go through in here and make a boundary.
Here's the pain point right here.
What
the boundary is the size of a kindergarten crayon.
Oh,
it can't just be a line. It's got width.
I mean, that looks pretty good. No?
Eh.
Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? It's not...
That's weird. It's like hitting a wall there. Well, no pun intended, but...
yeah. I mean, I guess that's, again, one of the complaints, right? So
yeah, it worked perfect for 3 rooms, and then the 4th room it screws up.
Yeah, and you sit there, be frustrated. So let me go to the project here. So to answer Jason's question is, you have to make a room. It's not just defined. So if I go in the architectural plan here and we create, not a door but a wall. Right, you're going to go back into here and you're going to establish a room.
Oh, so it's doing its own sort of dynamic fill. It knows. So it's not a click around the vertices. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then from here, what you would do is you'd have your sets, right? So if I go back over to here, here's my set. You would then come into your add-ins and you would create a PDF from here. But when you're going through, I shouldn't have done that. You have to make sure the settings is selected. So these rooms, which is the boundary of the wall's extents, would be spaces. So that would be cool if there was something dynamic like that. But the reason why Revit works is that it uses categories. So it's looking at it like a category reference to a wall. And you're able to go to export rooms to spaces right here. Sorry. I guess I already had it clicked. And then that would create the space for it. But yeah, rooms are used in every architectural plan because they are signed with data associated to it. So anything that falls into, you can create a furniture plan essentially by a room and know what's in that room. Anything that falls into a room can be itemized in a schedule in Revit, right? So, yeah.
Very handy.
So to answer, now you're trained in Revit.
Oh, great. Confession time. I made a box and I put some walls in there like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to play. Right? So there was a couple more comments about dynamic fill. Make sure you turn off your line weights, as dynamic fill only flows to the edge of the line. And we've covered this a hot minute ago. There are some differences, and if your tolerances are super, super tight, you definitely want to have those line weights turned off while you're doing the dynamic flow workflow. But let's see. Only thing that they use dynamic fill for is for oddly shaped items. And Vince says, well, yeah, that's part of civil engineering. Everything is oddly shaped. Got a radius in there somewhere. Shade. A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, so it does work, but it has its drawbacks, right? I don't think any solution is perfect. But Spaces is a great way to itemize. So down here in your tool set, down here in your markups list, you can itemize by space. So now you know like what punch list items are part of which space, which is great. And that does work in sessions. So if you were to create your spaces, upload that PDF into a session and you're out in the field and you're doing the punch list, still works great. The thing is that people like to document the issues, and the camera photo is one of those issues right now.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, you mentioned that the no solution is perfect. What would it take? What's the one thing in your mind that's missing from that it could not be considered perfect without?
I'll say this. As much as we talked about some of the issues right now, there will never be a solution that's perfect for anybody. Why? People are always going to find something that is wrong with a workflow or a solution. But to answer your question, Michael, what would get us to be at least 1-to-1? Tool sets to be automatically synced, which is coming out. You need to be able to attach photos, and you need to be able to do everything that you're able to do right now on the iPad app, but on the mobile device. I think the highly underrated thing was another voice. That voice chat was super good. Mm-hmm. And adding that, videos should be included if somebody wanted to place a video on here, which is not able to. I think it is able. Is it able to be done in the app? I don't know. But I think to get us moving forward would be attaching a capture, and I don't know how that can be done. But again, I think when the integration is released and we showcase it, I think a lot of people are going to go that route. The only question is going to be cost, right? Unfortunately, it's not included in your Bluebeam license because they are owned by the same company, but the company looks at them as two different entities. Like in a perfect world, you would increase the license cost by, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a margin. You probably increase it by like $10 or something. Like I'm wondering if they're going to do a deal with, like, if you have Bluebeam, Go Canvas isn't $50, it's $25.
Right.
Because that's going to be a great workflow for those field people to create those forms, but it's not a punch list, meaning you placing it on the PDF. However, the integration will be something similar of that manner, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about now. So
fair, getting on that fine line.
Yeah.
So getting caught up on the chat while we got the last 9 minutes left. Bob mentioned that the process to add, organize, and create new punch list defect markups is not optimized. It takes too many clicks and typing, not an easy task on the phone or tablet. Also, contractors want a way to quickly assign an item to subs, not easy in Bluebeam.
Ooh, that's another one. Yeah,
Boom,
sorry.
there it is.
That's
the a good one, Bob. Good one.
Yeah, assigning. I didn't realize how important that is so I checked out. I was talking to the client the other day, and they actually let me see Procore, which was pretty awesome because I never used Procore. There's like an approval process which Bluebeam doesn't have integrated into here, which you place a markup that is approval, but it's assigning it to somebody to go through and review it and approve it, right? So that same concept, what Bob was saying, is that ability to go through and assign something to somebody, right? So that ability to select it, you can't do that on the Cloud app. I think that is truly another item as well. Like, hey, this is going to be assigned to somebody. That's part of here, which isn't that complex to do, I think. But that's the same thing of like attaching a photo, which I guess is more complex. That's when I wish I was more in the developer field so I could understand like some of those inconsistencies, which I'm not. So unfortunately, from an API connection, like is this where Bluebeam's thinking of like, well, there should be, folks out there creating these APIs. I don't know, that ability to take what's bare bones here and integrate it into something else. So
I mean, you could get around the assigning responsibilities as you're making your tool set, so if it's a paint issue that it's going to be Bob's paint company and it's already set in there as a subject. Yeah. That way because if you had a particular project, you would just create tools that way. So it's pre-populated. Same thing with
what Jason is saying,
or your custom columns rather.
Yeah, you would essentially create a tool set that's for Jason's responsibility. You would create a tool set, but it doesn't alert them, right? But at least they know from the markups list that it's their responsibility. But in here, if you create a responsibility, we'll just go through and create one real quick. If I create a custom column and do RES as responsibility, and we'll do a choice, and we'll add
Bob's now responsible for lots of things.
We'll add Bob in here then too. Okay. There we go. Okay. So basically what you would do is you would select the markup, and then over here you can go through and assign it. So this would be Bob's. So now this is Bob's tool set of responsibility. So you just have to know when you're going through and placing it, that this tool set is already assigned to Bob.
I mean, that'd be one way to do it. Obviously not ideal and be really difficult to do out in the field. But, you're usually thinking a little bit ahead. Getting caught up on the chat here. David's got a hack. Programming a mouse button for hide and another one for hide all. That's pretty slick too. If you're doing the new hide markup functionality, which I think is pretty handy.
Yeah, mine's right now back and forward on this computer.
Ooh.
So you see how it's like.
Yeah. That's clever.
I didn't know it was assigned that way, but cool.
John thinks you can make Bluebeam perfect just by adding AI to it. So not even the function of AI, just put the letters AI and then it's good. Apply field measurements, support layers with tool sets from Matt. That's a good one. Yeah, Isaac, Revu is still technically youngish. It's correct. There's been a lot of movement, especially since they moved to the subscription model with basically monthly updates or quarterly updates at least. And I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more in the next couple months. You summed it up perfectly, David. As imperfect as it is, it's still better than a yellow pad and pencil. Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody's using Procore. Yeah, I don't know enough about Procore to see how it compares. Obviously, that's not a program that ATG sponsors or supports, so we don't have access to it other than helping people get off of it and onto Autodesk Construction Cloud. But that's a whole other story.
because Build has that workflow where it's approval as well, just like Procore does. So I'm well informed of that workflow because you can create approval workflows for like submittals, RFIs, and who needs to go to. There's different ways to do. There's different types of approval workflows too that you can do. But basically, you create an approval workflow when you create an RFI, and you assign it to somebody. It goes through that whole approval workflow, so it's alerted by those individuals. But again, right. At the bedrock, what is Bluebeam supposed to be? A markup solution and editor, and you can do cost estimating in here. I think it's just folks are eagerly waiting. They've adopted and invested in a workflow, and I think there's some heartburn with that investment in workflow being removed. That's the issue, right? So when you decommission a solution without what would have been a good workflow would have been to get everything released or tell everybody you're decommissioning a solution and actually tell dates and times, even if you push them back a week or a month because of dev time, of a true roadmap saying this is when captions or photos will be added to Bluebeam Cloud, right? Because when you decommission a solution like they are, people are invested into the current workflow of the iPad app and they're upset, right?
Pretty wild.
Because they invested in the iPad app, and then when you go and say, well, I think it's time to move to Surface Pro, that's another whole investment, right? Because Surface Pros aren't cheap either right now, are they?
I don't think so. Nothing's cheap anymore.
Yeah, so if you go from a iPad, which is, you're probably buying a ton of space, so you're probably doing the $2,000 one.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying another $1,000. Let's just use whatever this is here. I don't know if this is the one you want, but you're paying another $1,000 per mobile device. Yeah, to get from iPads to this. Because this does operate with a full solution. So.
Mm-hmm. Pretty wild. Yeah, David, I'm not going to repeat that. But it is what it is. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up around the corner. I know for me, later today, I get to see my friend Michael here, but also coming up down the pipe with Bluebeam. So stay tuned. If you haven't registered for Bluebeam Unbound yet, what are you doing? We'll see you out there. It's going to be a wild time. Especially if you've been watching the news about what's happening in DC. But anyway, we're going to have some fun and look forward to seeing you all next week. Of course, seeing you in Washington, DC next month. So without further ado, see you all later. See you next week.
See you all next week.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.